This is Teclast's new tablet, the T50 Pro. It's running Android 13. It's powered by the Helio G99, which is a MediaTek chipset. 8 GB of RAM, 256 GB of storage, which is expandable because there's micro SD card support. It can take dual nano SIMs, 4G support with LTE band 20, FM radio, GPS, 6-axis accelerometer. There's another sensor it does have on board, which is sometimes missing, an 8,000 mAh battery, and it's of course all running Android 13.
Teclast includes a Type-C 18-watt charger. We have then the Type-C to Type-C cable, SIM tray tool, user manual, and a warranty rules card. Now officially they say the tablet is 7.5 millimeters, but I measure 8.5. It's not too far off. It's still thin. And the weight of it, let's take a look here. So 512 grams, not bad at all. So the screen here is 11 inches. It's 2000 by 1200 IPS, fully laminated, and we've got an 8 megapixel camera, ambient light sensor, and even a proximity sensor, and they do have a 6-axis gyroscope with this model. Now it does come with this pre-applied screen protector, and it has 2 layers to it. So we need to remove this first layer, which they just have on there, so the screen protector doesn't get scratched up. The back of it does have an alloy unibody housing. There is a plastic strip at the top. This is for our 4G antennas. So yes, it does have 4G, dual SIM support, micro SD card support, and Wi-Fi 5. So not Wi-Fi 6, but Wi-Fi 5, which is our AC, fast enough. And there's a protector on the back of this too that we will need to remove. It has a good feeling in hand, this metal, so the matte finish on it tends to be quite a fingerprint magnet. I've just taken off that protector, so now it looks all nice and shiny and new, but it will not last for long. It does have rounded edges, and overall the build quality feels very good. Very nice in hand. LED flash on the rear and a 20 megapixel camera. That's the camera on the right of the screen. On the left, this is, well, it doesn't seem to do anything actually. I don't know if it's just time of flight for portrait shots. Could be, but it looks like only a little 2 megapixel sensor in there. Up the top on the right hand side, you'll find our power on button, volume up and down, reset. This needs a little pin to go through there, or the SIM tray tool might just fit to reset the tablet. You should never have to use that. Microphone. And then down the bottom we have another mic, I believe. And either side we've got these speaker slots here. So they're 3-watt speakers and there are 4 in total. And I'll give you a sample of them later on in the video. They do sound pretty good, a lot better than what we used to get from Teclast. And then our SIM tray. So this does take either a micro SD card and 1 nano SIM or 2 nano SIMs, you have to decide. Now you can expand it up to 1 terabyte. And this is our Type-C port, which is USB 2.0 speeds, sadly not USB 3 or 3.1. No video out, and yes, there is no 3.5 millimeter headphone jack on this tablet. And our screen, so I've seen this panel in quite a few different tablets, and a lot of them from Teclast. So 11 inches, 2000 by 1200. It's sharp enough, it's IPS. It is fully laminated, so there's no ugly gap between the digitizer glass on the top and then our IPS panel below. Now the brightness, very average. I'm only measuring around about 260 nits. Close to that, it's about 258, and that's very borderline acceptable. Indoors, it looks fine. I'm not quite at the maximum brightness here at the moment. That is it right now, which will start to overpower my current camera settings. It is enough for indoors, but I do really wish this screen was quite a bit brighter. Now, it's not 120 Hertz, but the touch sampling rate is, which is standard because that's double our refresh rate. So it's 60 Hertz. Touch response seems to be good. The accuracy of the screen is fine. I don't really have any major complaints about it, just that brightness really. Now the bezels, these are about 8 millimeters either side. So again, okay, not the slimmest you'll see, but it still gives it not a dated kind of look, which is good. Now we are running here Android 11, and just before we go on to a little bit more on the OS, I'll just show you a couple of sample images here with the standard kind of tests that I like to run through. So you see this green, it's okay. It's not amazing, but I think for the price point, it's a fairly decent IPS panel. The launcher is kind of like stock Android, but then it isn't. So we do have the apps drawer here, and they've got a dock at the moment. So this is a little bit different from what I saw with the other versions running Android 12. It's okay. The performance of it, you occasionally see a few little lags. I won't lie to you and say, no, it's blazing fast. It isn't at times, but it's in general acceptable kind of performance for this price range of tablet. Now, we've got some good things built into it. So there is FM radio, and because we've got dual SIM support, there is a dialer. They haven't blocked out phone calls, text messages, WhatsApp's working. All of that stuff will work on this, and you can treat it just like a phone. The downside is there's no 3.5mm headphone jack. So if you want to place calls, it'll be on speakerphone by default until you plug in an adapter. So 3.5 to Type-C, and then you can have your private phone calls. So that's the downside to it there. But overall, it's reasonably good, the performance here. No major complaints from me. And when you swipe from left to right to bring up this here, you can sometimes see it chugging a little bit to low, but it's doing all right. The performance is okay. Wi-Fi AC, 4G, you can see that's here just showing up, and it does seem to have LTE band 20, and I have had no problems on 4G. So when you do first power it on, there is really no bloatware. This is one of the positive sides of getting these more unknown brands and not going for someone like Samsung, which would have huge amounts of bloatware on there. And even Xiaomi is pretty bad now with their bloatware. So literally no bloatware, really good. You install the apps you want and have them loaded up. This is the downside to Teclast, and for me, this is the biggest con. They don't have a Widevine level 1 cert. So that means Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Disney Plus, all of those streaming services, you can run them, install them, but they're stuck in standard definition, sadly, which just, come on, I mean, it does not look good. Let's be honest here. It's not great. I need at least HD for streaming, and even full HD is better for a screen which is reasonably nice, this one. So the internal storage, 256 gigabytes, nice amount there of it, and you can expand it with micro SD card support, of course, up to 1 terabyte, and these speeds are decent, very good. They're not going to bottleneck this tablet at all, nope. It'll probably be more of this. So the Antutu scores nearing up towards the 400,000, which is all right, but it still is low end. The weakness being the GPU here, and I'll get onto some gaming performance later on. You can play games, as you'll see, but you want to run the lowest settings possible to just keep that frame rate up. Battery life is average. It's not amazing. It's got an 8,000 milliamp hour battery, and it will go for almost 7 hours for general use, up to 8.5 maximum, depending on your brightness. So I calibrate these displays to 200 nits, and 200 nits with this tablet is pretty much almost full brightness here. So you're probably looking around this kind of score too with it. Charge time, well, to go from 16% to 100 took 115 minutes. So almost 2 hours for the 8,000 milliamp hour battery at 18 watts. Pretty standard, nothing amazing, so it's not really that quick. This is not fast charging in 2023.
And of course, one of the ample uses of a tablet is media consumption, but also ebooks, and it runs just fine here. So this is an ebook here with Google Play Books. Not a problem. The screen is fine for this. You can invert the colors here too. You can put on the blue light filter. Those standard kind of options that we have with the display, we also get with this model too. Being Android 11, they've been around for a while now. Rather large PDF files, they work okay with the tablet. You can see as I scroll ahead, it's not super quick, so it won't be iPad fast, no, but it's again fine, and it looks good on the screen. And I don't have to use it in landscape. I can just flip it around into portrait and tap there and zoom in. The text is looking sharp enough for reading.
Then audio, we have those 4 speakers, so 2 either side, and they're 3-watt speakers, so they're pretty decent, the volume. I'll give you a sample now, which was one of my own reviews, so you can just get an idea of just how loud it is. It's good. They are, however, quite flat-sounding speakers. There's not a lot of bass to them at all.
These here are the Open Fit. They're from Shocks. They're the open ear style sport earbud that is very good if you're a runner. Now, if you're someone that trains...
Genshin Impact, and this is on the lowest setting, set to 60 frames per second. It is playable, as you can see now, but I do experience now and then a few lags. Especially when there's a lot of enemies around, action going on screen. I've got a thunderstorm at the moment too that the game has to render. I'm not doing too well here. Oh. I know I need to level up my characters. I just don't have enough time to play this game enough. There we go. I can defeat this one at least. So still playable. Everything else that is in the Play Store will run fine. Just use lower settings for the Helio G99. And over to the camera performance. So this is our 8 megapixel front facing camera. There is no electronic image stabilization. Quality for video here, not looking very good. Your phone will probably do a much better job than this. But hey, at least it's an option. We do have the camera still on this tablet, so you can use it for those WhatsApp video calls, Skype video calls. The rear 20 megapixel camera can shoot in 1440p, so not 1080p, not 4K, but 1440, so QHD here. And it's looking very choppy. It's all over the place. There is no electronic image stabilization, even though I have that option selected. So not great camera performance from the T50 Pro.
So a welcome performance boost from the chipsets they've been using previously, some of them being that T616, which only gets an Antutu score of about 260,000 points. This is a little bit under 400,000 as I showed you. So the battery life is around about 7 to 8 hours. The performance in general of the ROM is okay. It's not super fast, quick and snappy. Sometimes you see the occasional lag. Games, well, it can play everything out there, but you need to use the lower settings. What this model is lacking, however, is that Widevine Level 1 cert. I've seen this before with all of the Teclast tablets, and I really hope they can apply for that. Because right now, as it stands, at the time of me publishing this video, Widevine Level 1 cert would mean we'd get Netflix in full HD and Amazon Prime Video, but we don't. It's all standard definition because it's a Widevine Level 3 cert, which is the big problem here. The other is there's no 3.5mm headphone jack. Maybe not an issue for some people because you can just simply plug in a Type-C to 3.5mm adapter, but it's still nice to have. So the screen could be a little bit brighter too, that's another area, but it's not a bad screen considering the price point of this model. I do like the fact that it has stock Android too, so there's no bloatware, no additional rubbish on there. You need to spend like 20 minutes going through and uninstalling all of that junk. We don't have to here with the Teclast T50 Pro. So there we go, that is the full story of this model. Thank you so much for watching this review.